Hello everyone and welcome back to POPPYSEEDMini. Today we have a fun and exciting episode. We're going to be making miniature petunias for our dollhouse. The cool thing is, even my 8 and 11-year-old have been able to make these. We've been having so much fun testing out all the fun colors. So, let's get crafting. One of the things you're definitely going to need for this project is a flower punch and this leaf punch. I will leave both of the links in the description box below. The other thing you're going to need is some white tissue paper. You're looking for a tissue paper that is papery and not shiny. I did come across a few shiny white tissue papers in my collection, and they don't absorb the watercolor as good. And you'll also need some green cardstock for making leaves. I bought this collection at Michael's. The other thing I'm going to be using today is my ARTEZA watercolor pens. I'm also going to be using this water brush pen as well. So you don't need this for doing the project today. You could use regular watercolors, but I definitely love these and would definitely recommend them. You'll need some glue for gluing everything together, and my go-to is Glossy accents. For shaping your flowers, I use a piece of craft foam laid down flat on the table and a daughter tool or stylist. And it has a small and a large ball on either end. The other thing we're going to need is we're actually going to make a tool. So I take a piece of foam and I cut it into 2 pieces. And then I take my 1/8 inch hole punch and I punch a hole in both pieces of the foam. And then I glue this together so that I have 2 layers. I don't recommend my Glossy accents glue for gluing foam together, so I actually use my 3-in-1 for this part of the project. But once your tool is made, you don't need to make another one. So just put that together so both holes line up with each other, and then let that dry before you start using it to shape the flowers. The next thing I do is I take a full sheet of tissue paper and I fold it in half, and I fold it in half again and again until I have it about 8 layers thick, like so. Now the reason I do this is because otherwise the tissue paper is too thin for the flowers. And the other reason is the paper needs to be stiff enough for you to be able to punch through it. Like so. Now, if your punch is having trouble punching through the tissue paper, it may mean you need to do a few more layers to get the paper where it's stiff enough for your punch to punch it. It depends on the punch. Once you have your flowers punched out, the next thing you're going to do is watercolor them. Now for this one, I'm just going to start with a basic overall color. We'll get into some of those fancier colors later. Alright, so I completely cover my flower with the watercolor, and then I come back with my water brush. All you need is a brush with regular water, and I start to add extra water to the flower. Now the point of this is you want to fuse all the layers of the tissue paper together with water. And you'll get to the point where that color is going to bleed through the backside. And sometimes pressing with pressure with your stylus tool is going to bring that water through all the layers. But you might need to go back and add just a little bit more. Now, the thing you don't want is you don't want your flower to be soggy. You just want it to be wet, not soggy. All right, so once the color is worked through, now this is the back side of my flower, and I'm going to use my large round daughter, and I'm going to press into each of the petals to give them a shape. So now you're going to take the tool we created, and now this is the back side, and I'm flipping it over, and I'm going to center it over the hole. And then I'm going to press with the small dot into the center. And it's going to kind of squish in there. You can kind of see. And what I do is I fan out the petals. And you might need to push a little bit of one side in, pull a little bit of the other side out. You know, you kind of work it a little bit. But then you're going to get this beautiful petunia shaped flower. And then, if you want it to be a little darker on the inside, you can go in and add some more color to the center there. Pull it out and let it dry, and you'll just be amazed at how it sets itself. It's going to become stiff. To make a bud, you're going to color and shape as before. Set it over your tool, and then when you push it in, you just push everything in so that it's all squashed together. And you can pull it out and you notice how tight it is. So that's how I make the little buds. If you'd like to make some designs that are a little more unique like this one, first I color it with a little bit of this very light peach tone. And add the water. I definitely try to not make this one too soggy. I don't want the colors to run. Now I take a little light green and kind of just add a little vein detail. And then I want that color to bleed in a little bit, so I'm going to rub it in. Then I'm going to flip it over to the back and do my shaping. Push it through the hole and fan out. And then while it's still sitting here, I'll add my purple edging. I just kind of run the color over the edge. Like so. And then I flip it over to the back side. And I'm also going to add color to the very tip. Like so. Now this is where you're going to have to play around with your colors and just try different things and watch, because when it dries, it's going to dry a different color. It's fascinating. To create your plant to glue your flowers to, I use my leaf punch and punch out several leaves. Then I like to go over it and add a little shading with one of my green watercolor pens. Once that's done, I flip it over and I use my stylus to add a little texture to the leaves so that they kind of fan up. And then I'll press down into the stem like so. To create a bush like this, you're going to need a little over 20 leaves punched out. Next, I cut an 8.5 by 1/4 inch strip of paper. And I add little dots along the paper. And then I take my leaves and I put them on with the right side facing out. And just line those up along your strip of paper. Once you've got all your leaves glued on, like so, then you're going to want to take something like a dowel and curl them around it. And then you can add some glue. And start gluing it together. Just keep adding glue and curling as you go. Once you have it all curled up, then you're going to fold down the leaves and kind of make them bush out a bit. The next thing I like to do is add extra leaves so that you've got parts that are hanging down farther, or just to make it a little bushier and a little more unique. So I just add a little bit of glue and then glue down extra leaves. I'm just basically gluing the stem of one leaf to the bottom of one of the large leaves at the end. And I don't want this to end up symmetrical. I want it to, you know, look like a plant. It's got to be unique and fun. I'll also add to the top leaves so that they can drape over the other leaf, or add some height to the bush. Just keep adding leaves until you get the shape you want and the fullness that you want. Like so. To create a full bush, I normally make about 7 full flowers, and then I'll make 3 or so that are still just budding out, and start gluing them on to the bush. Add a dot of glue and stick your flowers down on the leaves. You know how lovely and full petunia plants are. It's just one of the things I love about them. So I definitely want flowers all around. There we go. If you just want to make a small plant with just a couple flowers and leaves, I just take 6 or 7 leaves that I've shaped and colored like before, and I just start gluing them together. Just kind of like glue their stems together. I glue 1, 2, and 3 together for sure to start out. Like so. There you go. And then I normally add one to the center here to give it some extra height. And then I always like to have a couple draping underneath, so I'll add them on the sides. Oops. And as you go, you might have to shape some of the leaves so that they drape the way you want them to. Maybe add a little to the back side over here. Like so. Then I just glue on my little flowers. Now this style was created by watering the petals down first and then coloring the pink on after. Once we have our plant made, then we need to find a pot. This could be anything from a creamer cup to a clay pot that you make. Or I even found these nice wooden pots at the dollar store the other day. And then you can leave that raw wood or paint it. If I want to add dirt, I'll just stuff in some toilet paper, like so. And then I take my brown watercolor pen and just color the paper brown. And then I wet it down to spread the color out. And then continue to color it until you get the desired color that you want. It's looking pretty good. With the dollar store pot, my plant pretty much fits right in. So I'm not even going to bother adding dirt to that. That just looks perfect. Now you can add a little glue to the center of this and pop your plant in place and let it dry. I've also included a new printable on my blog that I thought you guys might enjoy making. There are seed packets and a book and a sign and a bag of dirt. So have fun with that. If you'd like to learn how to make the potting bench from today's video, check out this video. Or we have plenty of other fun videos to check out. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Poppy Seed Mini. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And have fun crafting.